You've been lied to by society, other people, that the comfort zone is a bad thing. The comfort zone is what you created. The comfort zone isn't a place that you have to break out of. The comfort zone is something that you rewire and weaponize it to your advantage. I'm going to tell you how I rewire my brain so getting outside of my comfort zone feels comfortable and being inside of it feels uncomfortable. And because of that, you'll have unlimited potential. Think about that though. The more uncomfortable you get, the more you accomplish, the more doors you unlock, and the possibilities are endless. Your potential is endless. Potential is what you created. That's the main point of this video. I think we are not born with a potential. I think we create our potential, okay? People think being in your comfort zone is weak, something that you have to escape, you know what I mean? Something that limits you, puts you in this box, right? And that's somewhat true because it's what you create. But I think that's completely wrong. I think it's backwards. My comfort zone used to be scrolling, gaming, consuming content all day. I could literally sit in front of a computer and literally just consume. And if you're in that position, you can literally change that. You already wired your brain to thinking the comfort zone is like isolating yourself away from people, feeling comfortable, right? But because you wired your brain to that, you can actually rewire it back. I want you to ask yourself this, what does your comfort zone look like? What are you repeating every single day that your brain thinks it's the comfort zone? Okay, we create our comfort zones. The more you do something, the more you repeat, the more signals that you send your brain that, this is who we are, right? You're building experience. The more experience that you build, the more comfortable you will be. This will become your new comfort zone. This will become something natural, subconscious. You'll be in a flow state doing something because this is yourself. I think the big thing about cold showers is the mindset that you have. It is not a punishment. Being cold exposure is not a punishment, right? You need to have the mindset of this is pain, this is good, pain is good. The more pain you feel, the more comfortable you'll become, right? When you feel that cold water hitting your body, you gotta have that mindset of saying, this is a good feeling, this is a good feeling. Doing something new, changing your comfort zone, transforming it, it's painful. The more successful you are, the more times you failed and got back up. Okay, you gotta have that mindset. You will fail. But you just have to get back up. You just have to go through pain. That's just the hard truth. That's why a lot of people don't tell you, but I'm going to tell you that. And that's the mindset that you will have to have, and you will become unstoppable, I'm telling you. Another instance for me was, talking in front of a camera. I felt very uncomfortable. I was going through a lot of trial and error, and I'm getting better every single time. I'm not only getting better at talking to a camera, I'm getting better at communicating, failing, getting back up. I think that's the key to success. I want you to ask yourself this. What is one thing that you're struggling with, something that you've been avoiding, procrastinating on, that you can rewire? I really want you to lock in on this because I feel like self-awareness is key. Pick your flaws, your insecurities. You need to be really in your own skin. This ties back to self-image, but I feel like being in your own skin is the key to confidence. Being poised, being in your skin, being yourself. Next is that you need to build a mental callus. Doing hard things over and over again, and it becomes easier and easier. Discomfort is like weight training. You do it over and over again, it gets easier every single time. This creates a mental callus. I kind of learned this from David Goggins, honestly. I've been watching a lot of David Goggins, just about his story and stuff, and it's so inspiring. And if you don't know his story, it's just amazing. I really recommend that you watch that because it is genuinely inspiring how he trained his mind to become, a callus, having a mental callus. I think that's the key to success. Just going after pain, doing stuff that you don't want to do in the moment, right? It's just doing stuff you don't feel like it, and your brain will recognize that as the comfort zone. That's how you transform the comfort zone. This is how you have unlimited potential. You build a mental callus. I think that is just the key. Doing uncomfortable things, there will always be fear. There will always be uncertainty, but you need to realize that the fear just doesn't exist. Okay, the positive thoughts that we're meant to have, God put us on this earth with positive thoughts, not negative thoughts. Fear, anxiety, uncertainty, these things you just have to push to the side. You need to overcome these things because they just don't exist, simply. You need to pull the trigger. This is your sign to pull the trigger. This is what separates the 1% from the 99%. They just pulled the trigger more. The fear wasn't there. They just pushed the fear aside. They pulled the trigger. And they didn't think about the consequences. They didn't think about what would happen, all the negatives. No, they pulled the trigger. They saw the vision and just did it anyway. I want you to ask yourself this. Are you running away from the reps? Are you running away from fear? Are you recognizing the fear? Like genuinely, I want you to think about it, Like have you done something, you've been fearful and you kind of swayed away from it? Think about that moment, really think about that for a sec. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. Okay, it's one change at a time. The more you overload yourself with all these things, you're trying to build a better diet, physique, you're trying to build a business, you're trying to build your social skills, you're trying to do all this. The more you do, you won't progress in anything. It's called essentialism. So It's going 100% into one thing. You know what I mean? Going 10% in all these little directions will get you nowhere. You got to go 100% into one thing and then go to the next and then go to the next. You know, it's like lighting a fire, right? You light one fire and it will go to the next and to the next. So focus on one thing at a time. You can't overhaul your life in one day. I've been so focused on my purpose, you know, college, my diet, my fitness, you know, doing all these little things. You know, I'm not really progressing that much. And I need to go 100% into one thing, and that's my purpose. I always had, you know, analysis paralysis. You know, I was a perfectionist. You know, this is how I was my whole life, right? And the more I started to let go and kind of let go of that perfectionist, you know, the more progress I made, the more I was able to flow, you know, be in a flow state, build momentum. Because I think momentum is key. You know, starting messy, starting when you're not ready, you know, watching 1,000 YouTube videos on a subject is going to get you nowhere. You just have to start, keep going. And the possibilities are endless. Your potential is endless if you have momentum and you ignore the fear. I think this is key. So last year in college, you know, I was always in my comfort zone, you could say. You know, I was kind of in my dorm room, kind of just consuming content. So I would force myself to go to these parties, right? So maybe I could learn something about myself, or maybe I could learn a new experience, you know, have a new experience. And I would be there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. You know, this is the key, right? You know, people show up places physically that they don't want to be, but you're just going to have a miserable time, right? You have to show up mentally as well. If you're there physically, you might as well be there mentally. And you might enjoy it even more. So don't always have this negative mindset of, you know, I'm going to hate this when I go there. You know, you're going to a party, you're going to a social gathering, you're going something. You never know what you can get out of a social situation. You can make the best memory that you ever had. You wouldn't even know. So I want you to ask yourself this, you know, what are you really focused on right now? What is your actual purpose? Like, what do you really, really want right now? You know, really think. And just go 100% into that. You cannot have everything in life. You have to make sacrifices. But if you go 100% into that one thing that you truly believe that you can do, the other things will follow. The fire will light itself. It will spread to the other fires. Overthinking will not save you. Movement will. Momentum. I think that is key to unlocking your true potential. It's all about momentum. And thinking before you're ready. Action kills doubt. That is so key. So I feel like I always got the short end of the stick. You know, I was always in the back of the group. You know, I was always waiting for people to do something for me. I was always waiting for stuff to come to me, so I would never get it. But then I learned to just go after it, take life by the horns and just do it. If you were your future self, you know, really embody your future self, what would you want your past self to do? To make you feel proud, to make you feel that I did that. Wouldn't that feel amazing? I also waited way too long to start going to the gym. I went to the gym like 3 years ago with like 4 other people, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of just following them. And I stopped hanging with them. So for 2 years, I didn't even go to the gym because I was so scared. I waited so long. And then I went with one of my friends I used to go with, right? And I was like, all right. And I started to research online, you know, how important really lifting is. I started to really learn about it. I started to obsess. And that's where I made the most growth. I went 100% into lifting and fitness. And look at me now, you know. I truly believe that confidence is a side effect of motion, momentum, taking action. This is how you build confidence. You build self-image. You build experience that you did this. You embody someone that takes action, that moves when fear is there. Truly embodying that version of you that doesn't believe in fear. You just need to go after things like failure isn't an option. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. I feel like making this content, you know, it was really messy at first, but I just went for it. And I'm getting way better at talking to camera. And I truly believe I'm even going to get better at talking to camera, you know, a year down the line, 6 months, 2 years. I truly believe if you do something every single day, you will get better. And I took this skill into other parts of my life, you know, talking to people, just talking with someone like in the elevator, you know, starting messy. Maybe you don't know them, you know, you've seen them at your work, right? Just starting messy. You never know where the conversation will go. Maybe you'll learn something about that person. Maybe you'll become best friends with that person. You never know. This is why you have to take little steps. So I want you to ask yourself this. What is that one thing that you've been overthinking, that one desire that you've had in the back of your mind, you know, that you already should have done? What is that one thing? It could be that business that you were thinking about, or that relationship that you want to do, or that hobby that you want to have, or that career that you want to do. Really think about that and focus on what you were put on this earth to do. You need to make growth your comfort zone. You need to transform your comfort zone, right? Like I talked about earlier, the comfort zone isn't a bad thing. It's something that you transform into growth, right? Growth should feel comfortable, right? Being in the comfort zone should feel like you're wasting your life away, right? Growth should feel comfortable because not growing at all should feel uncomfortable because you're wasting your life that you know you'll regret. Think about it, when you're older, lying in your deathbed, right? What would you want your past self to do? It's redefining your comfort zone. It's growing. It's doing things that you've never done. It's going after discomfort. I would always have this mindset of like, I have to get out of my comfort zone to talk to this person. I have to get out of my comfort zone to try this new hobby. I was having the wrong mindset, and I was making my comfort zone and making my growth so hard. My potential was so limited because I created my potential. You know what I mean? Now I have this mindset of I have unlimited potential, right? I create my potential. I transform my comfort zone so that growth feels comfortable. I think that's so key, and that's what you have to do as well. You need to identify what your comfort zone is. Sitting in the same chair for 7 years and you wonder why you haven't changed. That's why you need to change your environment. You've been surrounded around the same people. What do you expect? Oh, I have to get outside of my comfort zone. Come on, dude. You need to build yourself for growth. Comfort needs to feel dangerous. Is your comfort zone helping you evolve, or is it taking away from your purpose? I want you to ask yourself this. What are things that you've done every single day that has allowed you to become where you are, who you are right now? Because whether you like it or not, we created ourselves. You know, we created our future. We created where we are now. Every single action that we've created has allowed us to become where we are right now. So think about it. Every single repetition that you've done, every single habit that you broke, you know, every single thing that you've avoided, every single discomfort, every single time you've relapsed. So if there's one thing you take from this video, is that you're not stuck. You're not bad at something. Okay? You're just untrained. You're undeveloped. You create your potential. Okay, really think about it. You create your potential. You're limitless. It's all in your mind. This is real stuff that you can do. And if you implement this in your life, watch your life change. It doesn't start tomorrow. You're not going to watch this video. I don't create these videos for you to have, 10 minutes of motivation after. If I was rich, if I was a billionaire, I would be doing this right now. That's why it's so beautiful.